Hi everyone, this is episode 43 of Off the Sprue. In this one I'll be looking at some Fender Damage to the T-72M, as well as a few fine detailing pieces that I've added. You'll remember in the last video I added some wood grain to the unditching beam, as well as some detailing to the two external fuel tanks. And in this video I'll be taking it a few steps further. In this video, I'll be adding some damage to the front fender, similar to what we see in a lot of reference pictures. I'll be adding some photo etch parts, and I'll be giving you some basic pointers on working with those. Next, I'll be modifying the driver's hatch to be able to pose it in the open position. I'll also be working with very small parts, and there's a few basic pointers I can give you there. And finally, I'll be scratch building a flexible antenna for the T-72M. Guys, as you know by now, this is a sponsored build, kindly made possible by Supernova Studio. And if you stay tuned until the end of the video, I'll be giving you a promo code that you can use to order the T-72 kit from Das Werk that I'm currently working on. So let's get started. There's a few really innovative things, such as the way these suspension arms connect with these rods. There's really no way you can mess this up. And again, the exceptional detail on this. I can't wait to get stuck in and start painting this tank. First up is the fenders, and these are two really beautifully detailed pieces that Das Werk supplied us with. These are cut from the sprue carefully, as I've showed you before in a previous video. There's very little flash on these, so very little cleanup is actually required to get these into a working shape. They fit perfectly on both sides, the left and the right, and the front section, the nose section, also fits like a glove. Now you'll notice these little strips of white styrene, and very simple reason they are there. I actually made a mistake. I started following the instructions for the East German version of this tank, which of course is a big mistake, and I had to replace those little strips of styrene that I cut away. So guys, don't do what I do, follow the instructions properly. I'm going to keep the damage to the right side fender, so I can go ahead and glue the left side fender in place. I used my gel type super glue from Green Stuff World, and then just followed up with extra thin plastic cement from Tamiya. This does a great job of gluing everything in place without leaving ugly glue marks. Now this is the part that I want to add damage, some impact damage, and this is visible in almost all reference pictures. These T-72s look like they had a hard life in the Iraqi army, and most show some damage on the fender areas. Now I'll be using an open flame, and very important to first remove all flammable things from your desk. I actually know people that set their benches on fire. We'll be needing a candle, some cardboard, a means of lighting the candle, which is the next step. And the only thing that I need to keep the candle in place is first to just drip some wax onto the cardboard. And while this is still wet, I can then position the candle on the cardboard. Now I've got a stable platform for the candle. Next, I go ahead and gently heat the fender piece. Now be very careful when you do this, because plastic burns easily, and the trick is to gently add heat, shape the part while it's still flexible, pliable from the heat. Try not to do this all at once in one go. Now I've bent the fender, as you can see, but I didn't follow my own advice, and I actually burned away the edge, that little lip there at the very edge of the fender, and that's something I'll need to fix next. I started by trimming off the edge part, just to get a straight front end, if you can call it that, gently sanding it to shape, similar to what I'm doing on screen. There you go, that's the result. and I can now reconstruct the front of that fender. Now this needs to look the same as the left side fender, and obviously I'm missing that little edge part. And to make this, I used a little piece of brass from a leftover photo etch fret. Little piece right there is perfect. There we go. And all that remains is to bend this to shape, cut it to shape, and make sure that it follows the same bend, the same line as the original fender. You've certainly got enough material, and once it's bent into shape, there you go. That is a perfect reconstruction of the front end of the fender. This is now ready to go onto the hull section. Again, I use my gel type super glue, tiny droplets that I need just to fix it in place. I think of this as tack welding in metal work, just to get everything more or less in place. And once the part is positioned, I can just go ahead and use my extra thin Tamiya cement and glue everything in place properly. Now on to photo etch parts. Now I love these. In any kit, I'm always looking for the photo etch parts, and Das Werk includes a very nice selection of brass parts to add to this model. First step of always is to cut them from the fret, and then use a medium grit sander and carefully just sand all the burrs and leftover fret parts. To glue these in place, I use one of two types of glue, first being ultra glue from Ammo Mig, and also gel type super glue from Green Stuff World. Really all you need are these small droplets of super glue, and the parts are then placed, and I find that with brass parts the bond is instantly, so make sure that you place them in the correct positions from the start. And that's it. That's the lower hull more or less done, and I can move on to the next part. The kit provides a nicely detailed driver's hatch, and the only problem is that this was made to be used in the closed position only, and I would love to pose this in the open position, similar to what you're seeing in that reference picture. Solution is quite easy. Use some polystyrene rod from Evergreen. Measure the correct length that I'll need. And this is then super glued to the hinge section of that hatch. This can now be positioned in place, and I've got a means of posing that hatch in the open position. Next up, some more photo etch parts, this time for these vented areas on the back, probably engine vents. Some very nicely detailed grill parts are included with the kit, and again these are cut from the fret and cleaned up, and they can then be cemented in place over those vents. In this case I'm going to use ultra glue from Ammo Mig, and a toothpick just to position some glue more or less on the edges where that piece slides in. And of course, when ultra glue dries, it dries completely transparent, so it's a very clean way of fixing brass parts to your models. At this point I decided I need to black out the inside of both the turret and the hull, and for this I'm using surface primer from Vallejo. This kit does not include an interior, so this is one of the workarounds that I'm going to follow, just to work around the lack of an interior. This is the result. The interior is now all blacked out, and this should work perfectly for the final model. Next up are small parts. This is an unavoidable part of the hobby. Working with small parts is what we do, and in this case the small parts are these handles on the side of the turret. Now Das Werk was quite clever in the way they molded these. They can easily be cut from the sprues, and then what I usually do is to hold them in place with a pair of tweezers, and then also while they are still held in the tweezers securely, I do the necessary sanding just to get rid of the flash or any other leftover sprue. Again, I'm using my gel type super glue with the fine precision applicator, and I just place these parts in position using the tweezers. So quite an easy way of working with small parts. Hold them securely, do as much as you can while they are still in the tweezers. The kit provides a antenna mount, but honestly not a lot of detail on this, so I decided to scratch build a flexible mount. I'm using these springs from AK, 1mm springs, and these are very useful items for scratch building, different things you can do with them. What I did was to cut away the top part of that antenna mount, place a drop of super glue, and then fix a small piece of the spring to the antenna mount itself, and this will form the flexible part of the antenna. Piece of wire rounds off the antenna, and there we go. Scratch pull antenna, and it looks a lot better than the original kit part. This can now be glued in place on top of the turret. So guys, that's it. That is the current state of progress. The turret is coming along nicely, the hull is nearly done, and this build is progressing nicely. And this video is one of 2 episodes that I worked on recently while on holiday visiting family, and honestly these beautiful surroundings certainly helped to inspire me to produce some more hobby videos. As I mentioned in the beginning, you can order this kit from Supernova Studio. You use the promo code OFFTHESPRUE, and if you're in South Africa you'll get 200 Rand discount. As always, a list of the items that I use. You'll see the glues are there, as well as the spring and the styrene rod available from all good hobby shops. Guys, that's it for episode 43. Thank you for following along. Do stay tuned because episode 44 is following shortly after this video. You can find it on my YouTube, and do stay tuned and follow me on Instagram for more progress on this build. Thank you for watching this video.